It's December 2024. Kamala Harris lost the election. Trump is back. Again.
Drill, baby, drill.
The head of the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, not a scientist, not a conservationist, a land developer.
There's no application to the state of Florida to build anything. I own the land. Palm Beach County wanted me to give them the land. I'm not in the business of buying land and giving land to people. I'm in the business of making money.
And in the smallest town in Florida, Marineland, the mayor reassures the town that there hasn't been any development proposal. But if there were development, what could be lost? We went to Marineland to find out. Despite the mayor's reassurances, people are still concerned. So we set out to find who wants to develop the land and who wants to stop it. We started by asking locals. We found Jordan, a very concerned citizen.
We're a small-knit community. We know each other. We know each other's businesses. We all support each other. So to even come in with the big old corporate hammer and nail and build out stuff from developers who live in Oklahoma. These people don't live here. They know nothing about this community. They know nothing about what we actually need and desire. They know what they need and desire and how they can make money from it.
We also spoke with Sophie Cook, who told us about a recent election in Marineland that seemed fishy. She talks about Mayor Gary Inks and Town Commissioner Dewey Dew.
I think Gary and Dewey, they know each other in a way before they both got on the board. And I know that another girl was running whenever Gary was running for mayor. The girl had the popular vote, she had everything, but then something legal went down and the girl was just like out of the picture because Jacoby's lawyers came out there and you can't really fight if there's a bunch of lawyers.
The girl? Lexi Taylor, the former town clerk of Marineland who was running for commissioner against Dewey Dew. She was a coastal environmental researcher who was evicted by Jacoby Development. We reached out to her opponent, Dewey Dew, but didn't hear back. So we took a look at his social media. Here he is with Ron DeSantis, whose administration attempted to develop Florida's state parks in 2024. Here he is with Rick Scott, who has a track record of pro-development policies.
Environmentalists argue that the state's growth management laws have been rolled back 25 or 30 years and that it will now be anything that developers will no longer be responsible for impact fees for schools and roads, that it would be much tougher to make them responsible for that, and that in effect, wetlands will be destroyed, more business, but not the kind of balance you're talking about for environment. They're saying this is the worst rollback we've seen in decades.
And here he is at Mar-a-Lago, a resort built on 17 acres of coastal land. Jordan also looked at his social media posts.
He shared a social media post that said, "Making Marineland great again," and that set off tons of alarms for me, so I inquired as to what that really meant, and very quickly, he was like, condos, restaurants, and I said, oh, no. So
we were confused because Mayor Inks just said that there were no development proposals, and Dewey himself called development a rumor. It's also strange because there was already a very popular restaurant in Marineland.
Raga Surf Cafe was on private land since 2021, but this summer, the landowner had other plans for the property and gave the cafe owners 2 weeks to vacate.
I wonder what those other plans were. We started to see a trend here. When former Mayor Angela Tenbroek was also evicted, we wanted to learn more about her, but she didn't want to talk about Marineland. Instead, we talked about farming.
So here we're at Worldwide Aquaponics, which is a farm that is different. So it's a recirculating agriculture project, which means that we have controlled environment, we have regenerative agriculture, we have orchards, we have farms, and we conserve water. Here on this farm, we're allowed 4 million gallons of water a day, and we use less than 1 million. So we save around 1.5 billion gallons of water a year that comes out of the aquifer, and we push nothing as far as waste anymore from this farm.
From what we learned, it seems like she values sustainability. If there's no development plans, why was she evicted and forced off the town commission? We started looking into her replacement, Gary Inks. We wanted to see what he was up to in the town meetings, but we noticed that 2 of them weren't easily accessible on the town's website. Another citizen, Kelly, also noticed this and had some questions. We reached out to the town for recordings of the meetings, but we've been getting the runaround. Luckily, someone else was recording them.
Can I just ask 2 questions? It's not a presentation or anything.
It's not a Q&A session, okay? It's a presentation.
Okay, so where would I be able to get questions regarding a previous meeting minutes? Questions regarding things that were in meeting minutes.
Okay, all meeting minutes will be posted on the website?
Well,
okay?
These weren't. We picked
date?
them up here. It was October 17th.
Okay,
There were 2 items that I had a question about.
I will answer that question.
Okay, perfect. Right. Do you know what my question is?
Well, you wanted to know how you get the minutes to the meeting.
No. I have the minutes. Okay. I had a question about 2 sections, 2 letters from the meeting.
It's
about a buyer for the land and to ask if the marina is for sale or under contract.
Answer is I'm not going to answer. We don't answer questions during the presentations, okay? Is there anyone else who'd like to do a presentation? A presentation is not a Q&A session. We were polite to try to help you out a little bit, best we could.
You didn't really answer anything, but that's okay.
Well, you shouldn't ask. Okay.
I shouldn't ask? So could I get it from public records?
It's a presentation, it's not a question and answer.
Yeah, this is for public comment, it's not a
name and...
Now, there's a lot of strange things happening here, all centered around one developer, JDI Marineland, which is owned by Jacoby Development. Jacoby has evicted Lexi, the environmentalist who won the race to be a commissioner, the popular food truck Raga Surf, and friendly farmer and commissioner Angela Tenbroek for seemingly no reason. Then we were sent a picture of this check, from VCC Construction to Gary Inks. We're not sure what he's getting paid for, but we did look into VCC Construction. We found an old Twitter post that states VCC has a long history with Jacoby Development. And in 2017, they announced they would work together to develop a resort village featuring an oceanfront hotel and beach club, an eco-resort and spa, and single-family homes. Jacoby had these same plans on their website, but removed it after the community began asking questions. Again, luckily someone took a screenshot. Don't forget, Gary Inks said there's been no development proposals. Which is good, because building in Florida, especially on a barrier island like Marineland, comes with problems that developers repeatedly ignore. We spoke with Kelly McGee, who has an extensive background in conservation and helped write the Beaches Act.
These are just storm-prone areas, barrier islands by design. Nature has a way of shifting the sands. Sands and areas on a barrier island will erode in certain storm events, and then the sand will accrete or build back up in other parts of the year. So barrier islands are really meant to move back and forth. When you build a building, you fill on the land and you build a building, then actually that building is potentially in harm's way.
Here's some footage of Marineland after a Category 1 hurricane. When the land was sold in the 90s, most of it went into a preserve. Some went to UF for research, and Jacoby bought the rest. He promised to create ecological housing using energy-efficient cooling and plumbing systems, would replace the demolished hotels and lure longer-term visitors. Best of all, he said he would do this within the limits of an existing land use plan, which sought to maintain Marineland's oceanfront as one of the few strips of Atlantic coastline in Florida that had not been overbuilt. We talked with Pat Hamilton, who helped broker the deal.
And he's a smart old boy, there's no question about it. Again, never been hustled by like I've been hustled by him.
Could you go into that just a little bit more?
Well, it was that thing, I mean, we did all we could to help him end up with it, because he was going to do this good work. We said, God, it's great. Yes, this is wonderful. And so he hosted me and another fellow. We went up to Atlanta to the Sustainable Cities Conference and wined and dined us and came back, and we got him to hire our lawyer who was great at doing all these grants. And then as soon as he closed, he started trying to change the land development code and sell it to Syntax Home for 100 and some units, and not 2 stories but 5 stories and this and that. So
after Jacoby buys the land in the late 90s, he evicts the majority of the town. And then he sells the land to mass market home builder Syntax Corporation. The developers then proceeded to lobby Marineland's 3-person town commission, including one of Mr. Jacoby's employees, to allow them to build more than 300 condominiums. So, these recent evictions weren't anything new. But what stopped the developers from getting what they wanted? Pat tried to sue them, but he lost.
At that point, the Florida Wildlife Federation and Mike Greenberg, who'd been the director of the Whitney Lab, and my brother Bill Hamilton and I started challenging that. And we went on for about a year, and we lost, and then we appealed. And then we did it, kept going again, and then we lost.
What outside force could have saved Marineland?
For many in 2008, home was where the broken heart was, along with the foreclosure sign. The Dow went down. Banks and financial institutions went belly up, and millions lost their jobs.
Oh, they went broke. It was a temporary pause, but Jacoby didn't give up on Marineland. He bought the land back and, as we know, he announced the partnership with VCC to develop Marineland. Development plans are back again. We figured out why Marineland needs saving. The real question is, who's actually going to do it? 2 broke college students? Please, we can barely afford gas. With Marineland's recent evictions and the current town commissioner's connections with developers, it seems unlikely that they'll be standing up to development. The Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission? Their chair is a land developer. That's like putting Ronald McDonald in charge of a vegan co-op. The president? The state? In the end, it all hinges on Jacoby. The Florida Department of Environmental Protection has been trying to buy the land for years, to protect it, to preserve it, but somehow the deals never go through. This isn't just about Marineland. It's about the whole country. It's about power, profit, and pretending not to notice. So here we are. Maybe you can save it.